We're here for far happier reasons today. Good morning, and thank you all for joining us. It means a lot. Steve, nice to see you. I know Craig was going to join as well, right there. How are you, sir? 11 months ago, all of us in New Jersey and across America were shocked and appalled by the allegations contained in the indictment against U.S. Senator Robert Menendez. I said on the day of his indictment that while Senator Menendez was entitled to due process under the law, the severity of the allegations against him compromised his ability to effectively represent New Jersey, and I called for his immediate resignation. Senator Menendez went through the legal process, and ultimately a jury of his peers found him guilty on all charges. And following those convictions on July 23rd, I received a letter from Senator Menendez informing me of his intention to resign on August 20th. It is a tragic ending to a long and largely productive career in public service. Senator Menendez accomplished many things on behalf of our state and our residents, but sadly he will be remembered for putting his own interests ahead of the public interest. So today, at a time of such great division in our nation, when the bonds between our fellow citizens have grown so frayed, it is all the more important that we hold our nation's leaders of every political persuasion accountable when they are found guilty of breaking the law and betraying the people they are elected to represent. Here in America, and especially here in New Jersey, we do not reward leaders when they violate the public trust. We replace them with public servants who are worthy of high office. Public servants who will represent our families with honesty, integrity, and the deepest respect for the rule of law. And public servants who will live up to our state's most cherished values. That is why today I am incredibly proud to announce that upon Senator Menendez's resignation, I will be appointing George Samir Helmy to represent New Jersey in the United States Senate. George is the ideal leader to take on this role, and he has more relevant experience under his belt than perhaps anybody in New Jersey. For one, he is the longest-serving gubernatorial chief of staff in state history. You may want to question his judgment for that. Prior to his service in our administration, he served as state director to Senator Cory Booker, and before that he served the late Senator Frank Lautenberg. In other words, George understands on a very fundamental level how a U.S. Senate office operates, and he will be ready to run this office from moment one. And he will bring to this office firsthand expertise in providing the best possible constituent service to our state's families. And that expertise will be especially relevant over the next few months as the presidential election rapidly approaches and as the Senate will be in recess as a result for much of the fall. But even though the members of the Senate will be away from the Capitol, their work on behalf of the American people must go on. And our neighbors in New Jersey are depending on our state's representatives in the Senate to continue addressing their needs as constituents. That work continues all 365 days of the year, and there is no one better positioned to lead those efforts than George Helmy. George will speak more to his previous experience as a Senate caseworker, but the fact is he has devoted years of his life to untangling the red tape of government to help New Jerseyans access the benefits and resources they deserve. From helping veterans get the health care they need to assisting senior citizens who depend on Social Security and everything in between, George knows how to navigate the complexities of government and to make life easier for our families. And as the proud son of two Egyptian-American immigrants, and Mom and Dad are both with us today, God bless you both, George will also make history as the only Arab-American senator serving in the 118th Congress. I also want to take this moment to acknowledge some special guests with us today, in addition to Mom and Dad, and it's a real treat in particular to have you with us. I want to acknowledge George's wife, Caroline, and sons, Joshua and Elijah, who are both with us today. His brother, sister-in-law, niece, and nephew have come along for the ride. Thank you guys for being with us. distinguished elected officials I mentioned in passing, Speaker of the General Assembly Craig Coughlin, former Senate President Steve Sweeney, Commissioner Brendan Gill in the back, leaders of the Coptic Orthodox faith led by Bishop David. It's an incredible honor to have you with us, sir, and your colleagues, both of the fathers, with us today. George's current and former colleagues in both the public and private sector with us today. I also want to acknowledge the First Lady Tammy Murphy and our great Lieutenant Governor Tahisha Way. Excuse me. Crucially, George will be serving in the role on a temporary basis. And what do I mean by that? Well, George will hold this office until the voters of New Jersey have a chance to choose the next United States Senator for a full 6-year term in this year's election on November 5th. And once the results of this year's election are certified, which will occur in late November, I will ask George to return to the Garden State. And at that time, I will appoint the winner of November's election to the United States Senate before the new year begins. I called the Democratic nominee, Congressman Andy Kim, and the Republican nominee, Curtis Bashaw, earlier this morning to inform them both that I will be taking this step. And I expressed to them my ardent belief that this approach will allow the democratically chosen winner of this year's election to embark on the smoothest possible transition into office so they can provide the best possible representation to the people of New Jersey. But in the meantime, I have absolute confidence that George Helmy will be the best possible caretaker for this seat in the United States Senate. You will never find a person who has served others so well. Not only those of us in elected office for whom he has served as a trusted aide, but also the people of New Jersey for whom he has worked in roles I'd wager most New Jerseyans rarely think about, but at the same time are impacted by every day. There is almost nothing our administration, now almost 7 years in, has done to improve the lives of New Jerseyans that George does not have his fingerprints on. He's an exceptional talent and an even more exceptional human being. And yet he has chosen an unsung path because for him it has never been about who gets the credit. It has always been about whom he can help. He is the model of integrity that we need to help restore the public's trust in our state's leadership. And his deep wealth of knowledge, born of experience in both the public and private sectors, will greatly benefit New Jerseyans over the next 100 days. But of course, what happens after those 100 days will be decided by you, the people of New Jersey. On November 5th, as voters, you will decide the future of our state as well as our nation, just as you always have. Through revolution and reconstruction, the Menlo Park invention that lit the world, and the 2 world wars that tore it apart, through attacks on our shores, our democracy, and our diversity, the people of New Jersey have never stopped believing in our great American experiment. You have never stopped believing in the idea that this is your government, that no elected official is above the law, and in the principle that when leaders violate the public trust, the people can and will replace them. I thank George for his willingness to fill this role until the people of New Jersey can make their voices heard. And I thank every single one of you out there who will cast your ballot in November, no matter who you vote for continuing our great democratic tradition. And everyone who knows George knows his personal disdain for pomp and titles. And for that reason alone, I cannot wait to rub it in and refer to him as Senator. So why not start today? It is my incredible, distinct honor and pleasure to introduce our soon-to-be Senator, George Samir Helmy.
Thank you. Thank you. And good morning, and Governor, happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
I have to begin by thanking you, Governor, for your continued trust and your unwavering friendship, and for the belief in my ability to step into this awesome role and take on this awesome responsibility of this office. Your leadership has ushered what has been recognized as among the most progressive agendas of any governor in the nation, and I would argue among the most effective. I've been honored and proud to have been by your side and by your back as you made hard choice after hard choice to restore integrity and put the state back on a positive and responsible trajectory. To the Lieutenant Governor and First Lady Tammy Murphy, thank you for your continued support, your friendship, the grace in which you always carry yourself in the issues that benefit this state, and for your leadership, frankly, on so many issues and a host of issues and responsibilities that you've carried for so many years in your respective roles. I would say the same to my former boss, Senator Cory Booker. Serving as his state director prepared me beyond words for the challenges and opportunities facing the state, prepared me to be chief of staff to the governor. I look forward to being his colleague, even for a short while, and thank him for his gracious support. Speaker Craig Coughlin, Senate President Steve Sweeney, your presence here means a great deal to me, and I'm so fortunate to be your friend, and thank you for your partnership. I would say that along with Senate President Nick Scutari, who couldn't join us today, even when we did not always agree on the specifics of policy, we never disagreed on the specifics of principle, namely to make the state better for those who are here and those who will come after us. To my colleagues in the governor's office, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you've undertaken. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for doing this in this chapter of your lives. And please know, as I stand here, we often talk about standing on the shoulders of giants. Rest assured that I know and have known that I stand on your shoulders as much as I've stood on anybody else's. To Mark Manigan and his better half Kit, thank you for being here. Mark took a shot on a guy 11 months ago, only for him to come into the office of you a few weeks ago and say, I'm looking to leave to continue my service for a little while longer. And I thank you for this opportunity. I can't say enough about your leadership, Mark. It's rare that you learn so much from a guy in a short period of time, but the value set you effuse as we deliver health care in a massive organization to the greatest amount of patients in underserved communities in the state is something I have learned a great deal from. And finally, but maybe most importantly, I acknowledge my Reverend Fathers as Grace Bishop David, Father Moises, and Father Gabriel, who I grew up with and chose a slightly different path in life. Of the Coptic Orthodox Church, your spiritual guidance and leadership has been a continual source of personal strength, growth, and peace. I appreciate and take on the importance of today to our community and hope to serve in a manner that continues to make you proud. For those who don't know me, allow me to introduce myself and tell my story. It's very much a New Jersey story, if not the American story. I'm the son of immigrants who left the country they loved everything they knew and everyone they cared about, and arrived, as millions had and have, to New Jersey. Their hopes were the same as the millions who've come before and the millions who have come since. My parents, who are here today, left everything behind and chose New Jersey as the place to give their yet unborn sons a better chance at opportunity and success. After settling into a 4-story brick apartment complex in Jersey City, my parents worked hard to climb the ladder of opportunity available in this country like no other. This allowed us to move to Glen Ridge, where I, along with my brother, went to among the best public schools in the nation, and then I went on to proudly earn my bachelor's degree at Rutgers, our state university. I am the older brother to a younger brother who I have looked up to since we were kids. I'm the husband to a wife I don't deserve and who is the rock of our family, and to 2 incredible sons who are my joy and are the most incredible young men. My family's experiences, coupled with a deep appreciation for the opportunities present in this country, made available to us through the communities we lived in and the support that we had, and a desire to be a part of defining a better future for my sons and their kids and so on, is what drove me into public service. My career in government started in this very building, when Commissioner Brendan Gill, who was gracious enough to join us today, and later Mo Butler, gave me a chance. They didn't know me at all when they hired me to serve in the offices of the late Senator Frank Lautenberg and Senator Cory Booker, respectively, giving me a shot when they didn't have to, and opening the doors that have led me here to this podium, and I thank them. Of all the policy and legislative accomplishments, as the governor mentioned, which I have been so fortunate to be a part of, it is without question my early assignments as a Senate caseworker that have brought me the greatest joy and have been the most memorable in sense of accomplishment. When I was hired, New Jerseyans were still reeling from the housing complex and the financial crisis of 2008, and our office was helping constituents refinance or modify their mortgages through the payments to federal programs the federal government had stood up. 13 years later, I vividly remember those difficult conversations with families who were on the verge of losing their homes. I remember the conversations with veterans who couldn't get their appointments in the VA, and seniors dependent on Social Security facing the insurmountable bureaucracy of the agency. I remember the joy when we were successful and the frustration and defeat when we weren't. A few weeks ago, we celebrated the signing of the full funding grant agreement to the Gateway program. The majority of the individuals who've worked to bring that to conclusion over the last decade were not there, were not in the photos, and frankly, we wouldn't have it any other way. Therein lies the core of what it means to be a staffer. Getting the job done is what matters. The service is what matters. It's not you in the press release. It's not your name at the building. And frankly, it should not be you at the podium. I must at this moment acknowledge those who have been oftentimes forgotten in the happenings of the past year. My former colleague, Senator Menendez's staff, past and present. Collectively, they were known for their talent and skill that rivals any Senate office. They were and are fiercely competitive in a way that made all of our offices strive to be better. But most of all, they helped the people of New Jersey navigate the federal government. And to them, I say thank you. I have never, nor will I ever, seek elected office. As a matter of fact, as the governor alluded to, the idea of being called senator bothers me deeply. And I recognize that I'll spend the rest of my life telling people, please, go back to calling me what you did before. And I appreciate for much of both sides of this room that will not be a problem at all. But our residents deserve a functioning Senate office upon which they can call for help. Our nonprofits and local governments deserve an office that will fight for them for their grants and support them in navigating the arcane maze of federal agencies. And yes, New Jersey deserves its full voice and representation on the floor of the United States Senate. Relying on my familiarity with the Senate and my deep knowledge of the issues facing this state, I will stand as our second crucial voice in the Democratic caucus under Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on the important items that will come before us over the next months. I will draw from the words of the man under whom I began this journey in public service, the late Senator Frank Lautenberg. Upon his initial retirement from the Senate in his final address on the floor in December of 2000, he said, "The fact of the matter is, if we defend the interests of our state in concert with the interests of our country, we will have done our jobs correctly." I'd once again like to thank the governor for his trust he's shown in me and commit to stepping down early to give the duly elected senator the chance to begin his work in earnest a few weeks early. So although I will only serve for a few months, I will do my very best to ensure that our work is about us and not about I. We work for the people of New Jersey and beyond that, the people of the United States and not ourselves. The work we do, the ultimate credit for it and benefit to it, goes to the people we serve. If nothing else, in my short time in office, I hope to begin to restore a small measure of faith and belief in the honor of public service. Then I believe I've done the job correctly. As I close, I must thank Caroline, Joshua, and Elijah. We all know this means a few more months of Dad missing games and not being as present as I would like. And I know that you carry that burden more than I. Governor, I accept this appointment with great humility, but an even greater sense of determination, and I'm eager to get back to work. Thank you.
As they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. Congratulations, George. You'll all be called up here.